Today we're going to see if we can phase our way to victory with the help of Illuminator, Virtuoso, Storm Chaser Jake, and Mavinda in Standard. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic, and we got a sweet one this week. We are heading to Standard to play some blue-white phasing tribal heroic, and this deck, it's just so much fun. As you can see, 96 bucks in paper, which is a little deceptive, like 60 of those bucks are 6 rare dual lands, so if you already got the lands, this deck is almost free in paper. On Magic Arena, under 15 total rares and mythics, including some rares and mythics in the sideboard, so pretty cheap there as well. So let's talk about what this deck's trying to do, jump into some games, see it in action. So the two big payoffs in this deck are our pseudo-heroic creatures, Storm Chaser Drake, Illuminator, Virtuoso. When we target them, we get to draw a card. In the case of Virtuoso, we actually connive, which is kind of better. It doesn't generate card advantage, but the +1/+1 counter quickly grows Virtuoso into a 2-shot kill threat. And really, Illuminator Virtuoso is the card that makes this deck work. If you want to think about this deck in one really simplistic way, the goal is this: find Illuminator Virtuoso, protect Illuminator Virtuoso, attack a couple times with like a 5/5, 7/7 double striker, and kill our opponent in roughly 2 attacks. Storm Chaser Drake is great. It doesn't turn into the big threat as Virtuoso, but it is a good way to draw through our deck as we're casting spells to find Virtuoso. We also got a couple of backup creatures. Delver, it's a removal spell sometimes, and can flip because we got a lot of spells. Mavinda, almost unbeatable in the late game. It comes down, lets us flash back essentially once per turn all of our protection spells in our graveyard. So once we get Mavinda down, if we got some extra mana, it just becomes almost impossible for our opponent to kill our creatures. Then we have our protection spells, and the big ones are our phasing spells. Slip out the back, March a Swirling Mist. They are just the best protection. We also got You See a Guard Approach, which gives a creature hexproof, which is great if our opponent's trying to vanishing versus our creature, but not great if there's a big Meat Hook Massacre or a Farewell or something. Same with Sejiri Shelter. It's great if our opponent's trying to kill our creature with an Infernal Grasp or get it with a Wandering Emperor, but not great against Wraths or Edicts or whatever. The power of the phase out spells is they don't care. They deal with Wraths, they deal with Meat Hook Massacre, target removal, Edicts, you name it. If we phase out our creature, it is not going to die, and then it's coming back and it's keeping all of its counters, it's keeping all of its enchantments, which is really important with Illuminator Virtuoso. So along with being our best protection spells, the phase out spells is also our one form of defense really in the main deck. We don't really want to be spending Slip Out the Back on our opponent's creatures, but we will if we have to. In March a Swirling Mist, we're more than happy to use that on our opponent's stuff. We can cast it, phase out our stuff for protection, phase out our opponent's blockers, so then we can get in more damage, or phase out a lethal attacker. So that is the plan with those spells. And remember, as we're casting all these spells, we're drawing cards with Storm Chaser Drake. We're conniving and growing and drawing cards with Illuminator Virtuoso. We also have a couple of finishers, ways to grow our creatures. Security Bypass makes our Illuminator Virtuoso unblockable, also gives it even more conniving, but that's a way to close out the game even through blockers. Homestead Courage, just really cheap way to target our creatures. 1 mana, +1/+1 counter, and vigilance, and we can flash it back for 1. So tons of card draw, great way to make our Illuminator Virtuoso into an even bigger threat. Mana base, pretty simple stuff other than the MDFCs. Sideboard, a bunch of removal, a bunch of counters, a little more protection, and that is blue-white phasing tribal pseudo heroic for Standard. That's our Budget Magic deck for this week. So this deck's so much fun. You're gonna love it. Let's jump into some games, see it in action. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit with a wrap up. Today's video is brought to you by Card Kingdom. You can pick up all the Magic the Gathering cards you need and support the show, and even get a free MTG Goldfish sticker by heading over to cardkingdom.com/MTG Goldfish. Budget Magic time. We are playing some, this hand. We'd like one more land, but this hand's actually really nice. Really, really nice. As long as we draw a land in our first 2 turns, we have Virtuoso on 3 with protection, double protection even. We'll see what our opponent's doing. We do have 2 Virtuosos. We really only need 1. We might just YOLO one, run it out on 2 and hope. We'll see. If we draw a tap land, then we're playing a tap land. Opponent, is it a, well, you know what? Is it does have a lot of removal. I think we got to do it. If it lives, we're thrilled. If it doesn't live, then we got to wait till we draw land to play the second one. Opponent, land, and please don't kill it. Okay. That's what we wanted to see. This is a little greedy, but we're going to trust that this is going to find us a land. There it is. All right, so discard a Virtuoso. Play the land. Go to combat, hit ya. And this is what we want. Hit you for 4. Connive. Discard a I mean, we're all in on this one Virtuoso, which discard security bypass. This Virtuoso could theoretically be lethal next turn, right? We are gonna have to phase it out. We'll see what our opponent does. Fading Hope. You see a guard approach. Jawari Disruption. All right, so opponent stays alive. We'll discard the March of Swirling Mist. This does slow us down. Opponent scries to the top. Well, Virtuoso, play the land, pass the turn. We're still in decent shape though. Wow, draws with the Bank Buster, sure. Losing the security details is annoying though. Opponent passes. Well, go to combat, hit ya. Down to 14. Down to 13. This is where our opponent could potentially play Goldspan. Let's Delver. Delver pass. We want to hold on to this Jawari Disruption because of Goldspan. Fading Hope. Well, we will just slip out the back. Discard the land. We don't want to lose the Mavinda. Opponent, Goldspan. Well, we will Jawari Disruption that. Delver does not flip. Well, play Mavinda. Hit ya. Opponent goes to 11. Opponent goes to 8. Pass the turn. And then this Mavinda. Okay, this is fine, because Mavinda can March of Swirling Miss. March of Swirling Miss. Exiles the Delver. Phase them out. And that's why we call it phasing tribal. We lose a Delver, but that's fine because our opponent is dead. And that's exactly what we want to see. We untap, we go to, we Homestead Courage. We Homestead Courage, and opponent, done. That's the beauty of the phase out plan. Like Mavinda coming down, letting us flash that back is such a big deal. Opponent's like what, Teamer Control, I guess? So we probably want like the negates and the disdainful strokes. And Boon of Safety could actually be good protection here. What are we going down? That's the real question. We can go down 1 Jawari Disruption. We can go down 1 Mavinda. We can probably trim a security bypass. Our opponent doesn't have that many blockers. We can go down and you see the guard approach. And maybe 1 more. I think, so in this matchup, we saw the sweepers. So Hexproof isn't that good against Burn Down the House, although Boon of Safety is. Could also Valorous Stance. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it like that. Well, that went well. That's how you punish the control deck. When this deck runs well, it's so good. When it runs poorly, we have no creatures and draw a ton of phasing spells. But let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. But the good games are really good. All right, opponent's on the play this game. Jawari Disruption, I feel like, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I do think it's better on the play than the draw. Well, we'll keep this. Storm Chaser's a nice backup payoff. It's not. Ooh, Delver. All right. I mean, Virtuoso that's the real deal. That's the card that's so good in this deck. But, all right, opponent's got Spike Field. Yeah, play the land. Since we drew Jawari Disruption, let's just wait. The risk of waiting is a potential counter, but the upside is we could potentially counter something. Well, we can't counter that. Well, go Storm Chaser Drake. Storm Chaser Drake. Storm Chaser's great, but it's mostly great because it can help us find Virtuoso. If our opponent goes to bounce it, we are going to phase it out. Yeah, all right. Slip out the back, draw a card. Opponent can't Goldspan this turn, which is nice. Wow, main phase draw. Opponent must be Landlight. All right, finds a land. Ooh, there's the Virtuoso too. Go to combat, attack ya. Dragonfire. Do we even care about saving this? That's the real question. You know what? Sure. Virtuoso. So this does put a shield down for Land Dragon. However, if we untap with this Virtuoso, we're in business. Opponent, land. Goldspan Dragon. Well, let's slip out the back. While your opponent doesn't have mana. Oh, Oh, unfortunate timing. Discard the Storm Chaser Drake. Opponent hits us, gets a treasure. Down to 16. Well, race mode. Race mode achieved. Security bypass on Virtuoso. Loot away the Homestead Courage. Go to combat, hit ya. Opponent 16. Connive. Discard the tap land. Hit ya. Connive. Discard Disdainful Stroke, and I mean, we're set up for lethal next turn. We have multiple forms of protection. Opponent gets in with a gold span, I assume. Hits us, makes a treasure. Down to 12. What do you got? Titan of Industry. So if this gains life, opponent goes to 17. 12. Yeah, I think this is okay. I think we're just gonna phase out and then go for lethal. I assume they try to blow up the enchantment and gain 5. Yeah, so now we March of Swirling Mist. Exile Disdainful Stroke. Phase out. Sajiri Shelter. Opponent goes to 17. We untap Homestead Courage. Discard Sajiri Shelter. Attack you. Opponent gets hit to 9. 9 land, please. Discard March of Swirling Mist. Grow it, and dead. Through the gold span, through the Titan of Industry. Oh, that was so good. It might have looked weird to let the Titan resolve. The problem is, if we go to Disdainful Stroke, the Titan of Industry, and our opponent can counter back, then we lose security bypass, and then this Illuminator Virtuoso gets much worse. When it's not unblockable, then our opponent can jump for a while, and then we're in trouble because they're going off with this huge, powerful stuff. So the line looked a little weird, but I think that was the safest plan, and it paid off. Sweet, sweet. Budget magic time. We are playing some blue-white heroic in standard, and I mean, we lost the die roll, but we'll keep this. Little light on protection. Actually, very light on protection, but we do have Storm Chaser and Illuminator Virtuoso, which is sweet. Opponent appears to be Esper Control. Well, I guess that shouldn't be a surprise. Play against Esper Control every game. Ledger Shredder. Well, play a Delver. Play a tap land. Pass the turn. Opponent. Land on white. Homestead Courage. And Homestead Courage. And Connives. Discards a Grease Fang. Gets in, hits us. Delver, no flipping. Well, play the land. Play the Virtuoso, pass the turn. We are pretty far behind, though. Pretty far behind the Ledger Shredder clock. Faithful Mending. Yes, Ledger Shredder's an issue. Opponent. Homestead Courage. Counters and connives. Gets in, hits us. And a land. Delver. Flips, which is nice. I'll play the land. Play security bypass. Discard a Storm Chaser Drake. Homestead Courage. Opponent gets to Ledger Shredder. Discard Jwari Disruption. Go attacking. Yeah, I guess we didn't think that through, did we? All right, gonna block. We'll discard Storm Chaser Drake. I mean, we're all in on this Virtuoso. Opponent down to 13. The good news is I think this Virtuoso can win next turn. Yeah, let's discard March of Swirling Mist. Phase out. Discard a Virtuoso. All right, I mean, that's lethal next turn if we're alive. They don't have a vehicle in the graveyard, right? They do not. Ledger Shredder. Sure. That's it. That's it. That's a Virtuoso. I mean, we're all in on this Virtuoso. We wanted to phase it out during our turn in case our opponent had double removal. The Delver attack was suspect. I'll give you that. Although I don't think, hopefully it's not going to matter here. Opponent can't quite kill us. They can okay, they're going to Faithful Mending. This is fine. So opponent gets to do a bunch of filtering and draw cards, but we're hitting them for essentially infinite damage. I mean, this is a 8/8 double strike, conniver, and we got the Homestead Courage. So we're just, I mean, we're like 20 our opponent this turn. Opponent gets and hits us. Down to 4. Well, time to die, I think. Homestead Courage. Put away Mavinda. And 20 you unblockably? Who needs a Delver? Who needs a stinking Delver? See, we need Delver so little, we're gonna discard it. And yeah, that's 21. That's 21. That's what the deck wants to do. Like, that's where the deck feels absurd. Like, that's where it feels so strong. Opponent's deck is scaring me, though. I will admit. Ledger Shredders, Grease Fangs. I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe some Witness Protections could be good. Witness Protections, Fateful Absence, Valorous Stances. What do we cut, though? We can go down a couple Delvers. Go down one Mavinda. Maybe one Jawari Disruption on the draw. Much less good on the draw. Maybe we can't bring in that much. Do we want to just cut the Delvers? The problem with cutting the Delvers is it just leaves us really light on creatures and at a risk of not having a creature. Maybe we can't bring in all that removal. All right, let's try something like that. Do a little trimming, bring in a little bit of removal, go down a little bit of Delver. Well, that was good though. Like that, even with the chump attack from Delver, that shows the power of, yeah, I think we got to mulligan that. All right, go Storm Chaser Drake. You can do it, buddy. All right. Well, this hand is suspect, but you never know. Land, go. Storm Chaser Drake can refill our hand. It's not nearly as fast of a clock, though, as Virtuoso. It is good card draw, though. Good backup. Opponent land, and ooh, they have a Virtuoso. Okay. Well, now I'm scared. Play the land, and yeah, I mean, play Storm Chaser. Hope it lives. Scared enough of this Virtuoso that I don't think we have the luxury of just leaving the Storm Chaser in hand. Opponent's gonna duress us. Take security bypass. Gets in, hits us. Gets to do some conniving. Oh, just kidding. Hits us, passes. Well, slip out the back's not bad. Play the land, go to combat, hit ya. We might just end up phasing out both creatures just to Faithful Mending. Just to draw a card and also save a bit of beats. Bear. Always chewing on things I need. Opponent plays a land. Grease Fang. In this case, we're gonna phase out Storm Chaser Grease Fang, I think. Draw a card. Ooh, more lands. Okay, more lands not great. This does keep our opponent from reanimating, though. Opponent gets in, hits us. Hits us. Well, Homestead Courage, draw a card. Play the land. Homestead Courage, draw a card. Hit you for 4. And yeah, pass the turn. Opponent's going to duress. Well, we have a handful of protection now. Opponent is going to be able to reanimate something with Grease Fang. Takes one of our shelters. Plays a land. Reanimates. Cruise. Attacks. Makes a token. Opponent's only got 1 card in hand. Blocking's so greedy. Although we would like to kill this. All right, no blocks. We're just going to take it. Down to 13. Vehicle gets bounced. Go, Storm Chaser Drake. Opponent passes. Fateful Absence is actually sweet. I'll go to combat. Hit you with the Storm Chaser. I mean, I think they clearly have a removal spell, but they know that they can't actually use it successfully. Storm Chaser Drake. Yeah. So I think our plan's gonna be, they're gonna discard the vehicles. So I think our plan's gonna be beginning a combat, blow up the Grease Fang. We still have Slip out the back as protection. Ooh, Azeka's Chariot. Okay, we definitely gotta blow up the Grease Fang. Rafine, okay. This triggers at the beginning of combat. All right, so blow up Grease Fang. Goes attacking, going to connive. Oh, I don't know if we can get through this Rafine though. We don't have lethal. We haven't found a Virtuoso. All right, so we'll block and Slip out the back. Draw a card, grow the Drake. Or Mavinda's sweet. And there's the Virtuoso. Well, go to combat, get in with Storm Chaser Drake. Opponent takes it. Play Mavinda. Play Sajari Shelter past the turn. This is so close. The problem is our opponent can get back Greasefang again. Tainted Indulgence, draws some cards, plays a land. Oh, not going for Greasefang, interesting. Goes attacking. Does our opponent have a sweeper? What is going on here? All right, just gets in with the Virtuoso. Going to Connive. Okay, so we will block with Storm Chaser, and then Mavinda, Sajari Shelter on Storm Chaser. Draw a card. Pro white. Mavinda is like so absurd at this point in the game. All right, we get rid of it. Opponent passes. Oh my goodness, Valorous Stance 2. Oh, we're so close. Well, let's Valorous Stance, kill Rafine, pay the 1. And opponent scoops it up. We got there. Okay. That's a Mavinda power. That's a Mavinda power. Oh my goodness, that was good. That was good. I know I'm going to get yelled at for game 1 with the chump attack with Delver, but that really showed what the deck could do. That was a good one. Sweet, sweet. Budget magic time. We are, I guess we're keeping this. It's a heap of tap lands, which is a bit concerning, but that's an untapped land. That's actually pretty good. Let's play Dry Ruins. Consider. Question's gonna be, do we run out? Blue, black, Ledger Shredder. So all of our protection's 2 mana. We can run out Virtuoso, but the odds of it dying are so high. We can run out Delver, but it doesn't really do anything against a Ledger Shredder. Yeah, let's just play a Plains Pass. Our best bet's probably to try Jabari Disruption, something, if we get the chance. Opponent hits us down to 19, passes. Well, Deserted Beach, Delver. Opponent considers, sure. Looking for lands, I assume. Not gonna play a second spell and trigger this Ledger Shredder for our opponent. I don't think we really care about that. And opponent, wow, all right, opponent, not great at drawing lands, but very good at drawing considers. Well, if we draw an untapped land, we will get down our Virtuoso. If not, we're probably just going Delver tap land. Opponent does find their land, gets in for 2. Untap land. All right, that's untap land. So land and Virtuoso. And pass the turn. We got a little bit of protection. Opponent, more Blood Chief's Thirst. Well, Sajari Shelter. Jeez, main deck test of talents. Okay. Well, that's not good. We're in a lot of trouble now because we don't even have a threat now. That's a big problem. Not enough protection. The only creature we got in our hand is a very not good Delver. Well, discard Homestead Courage. Yeah, we really needed that to live. Opponent gets in with a Ledger Shredder. We draw, you see a guard approach. That would have been good in the past. Well, okay. Go Delver, I guess. Opponent untaps. Don't even care about Delver. What a weird draw for our opponent. Triple Blood Chief's Thirst, triple Consider. Well, we need to, oh, yeah, this one, very likely over. We do get to Jawari Disruption this. Opponent knew about that though, so apparently they don't care. I mean, I guess we gotta draw a threat like this second. All right, Storm Chaser Drake is threat adjacent at least. Homestead Courage, draw a card. The problem is this Ledger Shredder is huge and getting huger, and we don't really have a way to deal with it. Ledger Shredder is such an absurd card. All right, play the land and, I mean, I guess we security bypass, might as well. This is all we got. And we will pass the turn. Opponent untaps. We're trying hard. Opponent gets in for 1 million. We will take it. Down to 6. Graveyard Trespasser. Down to 5. We untap. I'll play the Storm Chaser. Pass the turn. So I guess we got to try to start phasing things out. Fading Hope. So, March of Swirling Mist. 1, 2, 3. I mean, if they have a counter, we're dead, but we can't really do a whole lot about this. Draw land, draw, you see a guard approach. So we're not fully dead yet. All right, opponent's out of cards. This Graveyard Trespasser is a big issue. Eats a Delver, we go to 1. We draw another land. How can we possibly do this? I don't think we can. Well, all right, boom, draw a card. Security bypass, draw a card. I mean, I guess we got to hit another March of Swirling Mist, basically. If we hit another March, we got some small chance. We get to connive twice. Ooh, another land. And March of Swirling Mist. Okay, okay. So play the land. Stop on our opponent's upkeep. March of Swirling Mist. Phase out everything. Exile, you see a guard approach, unfortunately. Phase them all out. Draw a couple of cards. There's a Virtuoso. Oh, and more lands. That's not great. Okay. The problem is we basically need to keep doing this forever. Or until our opponent dies. About it. Just a land. Skybridge Tower. Well, okay. Go to combat. Hit ya. We gotta find another March of Swirling Mist. Mavinda would also do it. Okay, that's March of Swirling Mist. Discard a land. Wow, are we actually gonna... Is this gonna work? Discard a land. All right, all right, all right. We gotta think about this. 1, we can phase out 4 things. Okay, Virtuoso. Stop on our opponent's upkeep. Wow, we're chaining them together. Opponent flips. March of Swirling Mist. X4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw some cards. Discard, or connive. Discard the Virtuoso. Discard the land. All right, what do they draw? I mean, there's actually a chance we do this, which is absurd. Opponent passes, we draw nothing. Go to combat, attack with everything. Hit you to 3, but that's not lethal. Can we do it one more time? Slip out the back. Okay. Mavinda! Mavinda. That's Mavinda. That's Mavinda. That's what we needed. That is what we needed. Discard the land. Play Mavinda. Oh! Oh, we almost pulled it off. Yeah, now we can't get rid of the Graveyard Trespasser, so we're dead, right? We can pay 3. Is there any way we can do it? The problem is the ward. If it wasn't for the ward, this would be okay. Oh, what a game. Well, I guess we can't complain too much because we were also chaining our stuff together. Although, if we could have made it one single more turn. One turn, that's all we needed. We needed one turn, and we would have had one of the sweetest wins. Wow. Well, we're gonna bring in witness protections. We're gonna trim some delvers. Oh, that was so close. We were so close. That was so sweet. I mean, I guess even though we lost, that kind of shows one of the engines of what this deck can do. Like, it was looking real bad. Opponent had lethal threats all over. They were going off. We were pretty slow getting things set up, and we were super close to winning just by phasing things out, getting in some damage, phasing things out. If our opponent had not drawn a bad unplayable counter that probably shouldn't be in their deck, if they hadn't drawn that bad unplayable counter, we would have had him. Unfortunately, that in practice didn't end up working. Ugh. No creature hands are so bad. But all right. I mean, I think we got to keep it, unfortunately, although not ever happy to keep a no creature hand. Like, no creature hands are exactly what you don't want to keep. But I don't know if we can go to 5. Maybe we should have. Opponent passes. Well, there's a Storm Chaser Drake, which we'll play. Opponent, all about those bad counters. Rejects. Ledger Shredder, Pretty Bustarino, and a Delver of Secrets. Well, this one is not looking good. Without a creature, it's tough to win. Well, all right, play the Virtuoso. Play Jawari Disruption. Virtuoso does help. I think we just have to phase out now. It lets our opponent shred, though, which is a bummer. All right, Virtuoso triggers. Opponent discards a consider. We'll discard a land. All right. Opponent, do they get the blind flip? Our Delvers never flip. All right. Opponent's Delvers do flip whenever they want them to. Unfortunate. That's the story of the story of the Delver. When you're trying to cast them, your opponent, they never flip. When your opponent's casting them, they always flip. Opponent. All right, another card I've never seen before. Let's try to phase out. Opponent gets to Ledger Shredder. Opponent gets to counter and bounce the Virtuoso. Well, opponent's got some interesting cards in their deck. I'll give him that. We connive. Opponent negates. Ledger Shredder. Ledger Shredder is so absurd. We would play Ledger Shredder in this deck if it wasn't $20-some a copy. Yeah, I mean, this is just super duper over. All right, boom, Virtuoso. That's unfortunate in many ways. Opponent. All right, sure. Fair enough. Budget magic time. We are playing some blue-white phasing. Blue-white phasing heroic. We're gonna keep this. Unfortunately, these are not the... We have creatures, but these are not our best creatures by a long shot. These are the bad ones. We're gonna need to find a Drake or something. Opponent, Grixis control by the looks. I mean, I guess it could be vampires, which is kind of Grixis mid-range. Opponent, land. Looking at the Delver. Are we killing the Delver? Blood Tithe Harvester. Delver, of course, does not flip. Delver never flips. It only flips for our opponents, never flips for us. Opponent plays a land. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Well, we will Jwari Disruption. Get rid of the Fable. Opponent hits us. Well, no blocks. Delver. All right, flips. Finally. Play the land. Hit you for 3. Next turn, we can try to get down Mavinda. Opponent, land. Dresses. Takes the March of Swirling Mist. Tenacious Underdog. Well, I mean, I think it's Mavinda time. Opponent gets and hits us. Down to 14. Well, go Mavinda. Play the land. Play Mavinda. Hit you with the insect. Well, we'll see. The race is on. Mavinda is very strong. Is it strong enough? Takes it to 14. All right. Untaps. Land. Combat. Hits us. Well, we're going to take it. Down to 8. Opponent passes. Well, there's Virtuoso, which is good. Play the land. Go to combat. Hit ya. We're going to keep raising. Feels like our opponent has Volt Surge. All right, they're going to Volt Surge. So we are going to Sagiri Shelter Mavinda on red. Hit our opponent. Down to 9. Virtuoso. Pass the turn. Gonna be close, gonna be close. Evelyn the Covetous, that's kind of fine. Opponent steals Mind Flayer Jwari Disruption. Okay, that's fine. Plays the land. What am I missing? There's no blood tokens, right? Okay, sure, you got us. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks, well, Mavinda. Sagiri Shelter on Virtuoso. Protection from black. Kill the underdog. And then opponent skips it up. I mean, all we have, if we phase out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if we phase out, we got him. So that actually kind of worked. All right, so opponent's Grixis Vampires. That was a good Mavinda game. That was a good example of Mavinda at its finest. Boon of Safety seems fine. Maybe some removal? Fateful Absence? Witness Protection? What are we going down? That's a real question. When you go down and you see the guard approach, I guess we can trim a Delver. We want at least some... Let's bring in 2 Fateful Absences. Let's try it like that. Try it like that. Can we take down the vampires? I mean, the deck... I really like this deck. It does have some really bad games, but it also has some really good games. And once it gets going, like, it's very difficult to stop. Once you get, like, a few lands in Mavinda and some spells in your graveyard, it becomes very difficult to actually interact with because we just keep phasing stuff out. See if we can do it being on the draw here in game number 2. But I don't think our opponent's punt actually mattered either because we could still just phase out their blockers. So the sacking of the Blood Tithe Enforcer didn't actually do anything. Well, we'll keep this. Oh, we're on the play. Interesting. Would like to find one more land. That would be the best. Opponent dresses. I assume they take Boon of Safety. Yeah. Well, play the land. Illuminator Virtuoso. Can you kill it? Hopefully not. Land. Well, Homestead Courage. Do some conniving. Discard a Homestead Courage. Homestead Courage. Actually, do we? Homestead Courage? Are we setting ourselves to get blown out by removal? Oh, I would like to find protection. Yeah, let's do it. Homestead Courage. Discard the tap land. I'll play the land. Hit ya. I mean, if our opponent doesn't have removal, Delver Secrets? Go. I mean, opponent needs removal. They need to kill this or they're just gonna die next turn. Opponent, red mana. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Wait, they're dead. They're like literally dead. No flip. Yeah, wow. Security bypass. Discarded Delver. Homestead Courage. Discard a Virtuoso. And attack you for 14? Wow! Sometimes you just run it out and hope they don't have removal, and if they don't, they die on turn 4. Virtuoso is a card. That is a real Magic card. That is a turn 4 7/7 double conniving, double striking, unblockable vigilant threat. How do you beat it? How do you beat it? I mean, you kill it, but if you can't kill it, you don't. Sweet, 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 sweet. Budget Magic time. We are playing, we're gonna keep this. We're playing some blue-white phasing in standard. Blue-white phasing heroic. This hand's got no spells, which is awkward, but we got a lot of Delvers. We got a lot of Delvers. Delver is definitely, like, I'm on the fence as to whether Delver is even worth it in this deck. We really need, okay, Illuminator Virtuoso, that is a top tier threat. So that's very good. Yeah, let's just pass. So Whirler Virtuoso, top tier threat. Drake, top tier threat. Mavinda, great but legendary, and it's a late game thing, so it doesn't really count, but it is very good in the deck. We really need one more creature in the deck. That's kind of the TLDR, just because we run into the Boggles problem sometimes of having a handful of spells that target creatures, but no creatures to target. So we really need the extra creature. Delver seems like the best of bad options, especially if you're trying to avoid rares and mythics to keep the budget down. It's fine, and sometimes it flips and can actually be okay, but it's not great, I would say. It's more okay than great. Opponent Graveyard Trespasser. Play the land, play the Delver. Hit you for 3. So I wish we had one more. If we had one more heroic threat, something like Illuminated Virtuoso, even worse. Illuminated Virtuoso was busted. That is a card that makes this deck work. But if we had one more like decent, even just decent heroic creature, then we'd really be in business. This deck does mostly survive rotation though. All right, so opponent's gonna flip the Trespasser. Do we flip the Delver? We do. All right. That's very good. Do we just start casting spells on the Delvers? What beats us? Meat Hook Massacre. So okay, Homestead Courage of Delver. Homestead Courage of Delver. Go to combat, hit ya. This at least gets a Delver out of meatball range. Wandering Emperor. I think we actually just let that go. That's the weaker Delver anyway. Opponent goes to 11. We'd like to be able to use this Virtuoso at some point with protection. Gonna take up on the Trespasser. Sure. Goes to combat, gets in, hits us. Nothing to exile. Yeah, we're not gonna block that. You're good. We will accept. Opponent, tap land, passes. UC a guard approach is nice. Well, go to combat. I mean, I think we're still on the kill our opponent plan. Hit our opponent. They know about the shelter, but not about the you see a guard approach. The problem is Delver itself is not lethal next turn. We can play the Virtuoso, but then we can only give up one protection spell. Yeah, let's just wait. We know they have a removal spell on board with the Wandering Emperor. So Sagiri Shelter. I mean, at the moment, the Delver is winning this race. Opponent spell pierces. All right, I mean, I guess we gotta pay. Pro Black. So they can use the Wandering Emperor to kill it, unfortunately. Yeah, all right. All right. We're definitely not winning the race now. Opponent gets in, hits us. Exiles a guard. We drop to 8. Yeah, not super enthused about where we're at now. That's a problem with Delver, is it doesn't get there. It can almost get there. Its main purpose is often just to eat a removal spell that could target a better creature. Here comes the money pile. Opponent land. Phases out. Oh, Virtuoso. Storm Chaser Drake. Pass the turn. We need a March of Swirling Mist would be sweet. Infernal Grasp on the Virtuoso. Well, yeah, I mean, give it Hexproof. Connive away Jawari Disruption. Opponent gets in. We really need to draw a... Maybe we kill this? Oh, this is so tough. How do we win this game? What is our pathway to victory? The thing is, right now, if we draw anything that can target Virtuoso, we can potentially just win next turn. The other option is to block, and then we lose our Virtuoso. And then if our opponent has removal for Storm Chaser, we're done. You know what? I think we gotta take the risky line. Bring it. Bring it, opponent. Down to 4. So we gotta hope our opponent just doesn't have anything. They do get to draw with Kaido, of course. Sure. Passes. Well, Delver's not good. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Down to 4. Play the Delver. I mean, the Delver can block for a turn. That's something. Not much. Opponent's just got so many planeswalkers that cost roughly the same as our deck. Ravine enters the fray and ticks up and goes attacking and does some conniving. All right. Draws and discards. So there is a draw that could theoretically let us... Oh, they discarded a Wandering Emperor, okay. Well, if they're discarding Wandering Emperor, they are likely winning here. Yeah. Well, that is the Rafine power, and that does it. That was close. That was close. Considering our opponent has a bunch of cards that cost about the same as our entire deck. I mean, I guess discounting the lands, which are way more expensive than they should be. But considering the price difference, we put up a pretty good fight there. So, you see a guard approach gets worse against Meat Hook Massacre. Probably got to trim a Delver. Probably got to trim Mervinda. All right, let's go 2 Delvers. Fateful Absence could be good too. Yeah, let's try something like that. We're on the play, which is good. Esper, though, it is a tricky matchup. All right, we get to play first, and well, we're gonna keep this. We got Virtuosos for days. We would like to find another land. Being able to Virtuoso and slip out the back would be ideal. Opponent tap land. So land on white, and we will, you know what, we're gonna run out Virtuoso number 1. If our opponent kills it, bummer. If they don't kill it, great. But if they do kill it, at least we got number 2 that can come down. Loom and Arcaspirant. All right, that's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to see. Now we get to play the land. Homestead Courage of Virtuoso. Discard a Homestead Courage. Homestead Courage of Virtuoso. Discard a Virtuoso. Hit ya for 10. And now we will slip out the back. Discard a land. All right. I mean, that's a lethal threat next turn. And our opponent can interact with it because we phased it out. That is the start we want. If we can just YOLO a Virtuoso on turn 2 and have it live, this deck, oh my god. Maybe the best deck in Standard when that happens. But that doesn't happen that often, so it's not the best deck in Standard. But when that happens, it feels busted. Like it really, like look at that. We just hit for 10 on turn 3 and we have lethal turn 4. Opponent. Well, let's see if our opponent attacks and dies. No. The funny thing is, Archon of Emiria is not actually bad for us. It's actually fine. So we got to play the land tapped. We go attacking. The opponent's going to block. Well, we'll pass the turn. Archon's actually a positive, because if they try to kill our stuff, then we just kill it back. They can also, this is a symmetrical hate card, as far as casting spells at least. The opponent plays a Illuminator Aspirant. So if our opponent attacks, they lose. And at some point, they're gonna get greedy and wanna attack, like now. Okay, so opponent, this is game, right? So opponent hits us. End of turn, our one spell will be slip out the back on Luminarch Aspirant. Yes, we're sure. So no blockers, go to combat. And if our opponent has removal, we got the counter and they can only cast one spell. And that is the Virtuoso Dream. Vanishing Verse, we will Spell Pierce. And hit you for 12. Archon is so bad. When our opponent's playing Archon against us, it's so bad for our opponent that I almost think it's worth considering, especially if budget on Arena is less of a concern. I almost think it's worth considering playing it. Every time I played this deck a bunch, just like testing it and tuning it and then recording. Every time I've seen someone playing Archon against us, I've done a little happy dance inside. Like it really benefits us. It makes it so easy to protect our thing because we don't have to worry about multiple removal spells in the same turn. So I almost think that it's worth playing in our deck, as hilarious as that sounds. If not in the main deck, at least out of the sideboard. Well, I mean, we got the Virtuoso, got a bunch of protection, and the security bypass. Actually, not a bunch of protection, but some protection. Although we're probably going to have to Sajiri Shelter here. Sajiri Shelter, go. Opponent land passes. Well, land on blue. Pass the turn. I'm gonna wait till next turn for our Virtuoso. If they play Archon, I don't think we're countering Mavinda. Well, play the land, play the Virtuoso. Pass the turn. We will slip out the back so fast if our opponent tries to kill this. Esper's a tough matchup. It's just such a good deck. Raven Feeblement. Well, I mean, slip out the back. Phase it out. Discard the Delver. Get some counters. Untap. Well, we need 2 turns and then we win. Opponent plays a tap land. We draw another Delver. So we need 2 turns. We have a Spell Pierce. That's our only real protection. Now let's Homestead Courage. Discard Delver. Go to combat. Tenya. Infernal Grasp. Well, we will Spell Pierce it. Opponent down to 15. Opponent down to 10. Play Disruption as a land. All right. As long as this You See a Guard approach holds. Are we dead? We even have the security bypass, so we don't care about blockers. So if our opponent's on the like run out something to block with plan, it's not gonna work. The clock is running. I think we might beat Esper. I feel like I lose to Esper no matter what deck I play. Deck's so strong. But we might be getting him this time for once. Wait, is this? I thought our opponent was thinking. Are they salty roping? Are they salty roping? Do we salty rope them? Oh no, did we salt him out? I guess we phased out our opponent's will to play Magic. Yeah, I think they're done. I think they're done. Hey, gang. Okay, yes, we will untap. We don't even need to do anything. We'll go to combat. Hit you for 10. Down to 5. Down to 0. And got him. Sweet. Oh, that was good. That was super good. I like this deck. So what did we learn this week about blue-white phasing heroic in Standard? And the deck is pretty sweet. Record-wise, we went 4-2 overall. There was one other match against Jeskai Hinata that wasn't very interesting. We got super mana screwed in game 2 and didn't do literally anything. We got stuck on one land. And in game 1, we learned a lesson about Hinata. Hinata's ability, normally you think about it reducing reducing the cost of the Hinata player spells, it also says that spells your opponents cast cost 1 more for each thing they target, so we essentially just get locked out of the game. Hinata's like oddly a crazy hate card against our deck because we can't use our Homestead Courage for 1 mana. We can't phase our stuff out for 1 mana or 2 mana or whatever. So it just kind of locks us out of the game. So I didn't bother to show that match. It is really rough unless we can keep Hinata off the battlefield. The good news is the deck does some ridiculously explosive things. We got to see Illuminator Virtuoso literally just go off. That card is so powerful. It is the reason to play the deck. It is the best card in the deck. You could argue that everything else in the deck, Storm Chaser deck, all that stuff, is there just to find and maximize Illuminator Virtuoso's potential. And they do a good job of supporting it. Virtuoso, though, we got to see a bunch of like turn 4 kills. The challenge is figuring out when to play it. Like, do you run it out on turn 2 and hope it lives? Do you wait until turn 3 so you can leave up protection? Because that is all this deck is about. It's about finding Virtuoso and figuring out how to protect it for about 2 turns. If we can get in 2 attacks with Virtuoso, we should just win the game because it grows so quickly. The phasing cards are absolutely insane. We saw that crazy game that we actually ended up losing that match against Blue-Black Control, where we were just chaining together the March of Swirling Mist to be able to phase out our opponent's lethal attackers. They are also just the best protection, to the point where something to keep in mind if you play this deck, and we did this a few times, is a lot of times it's right just to phase out our stuff during our turn, so we don't even got to worry about it. So if we have an extra mana and our opponent's tapped out, just slip out the back during our turn. Our Illuminated Virtuoso is going to come back on our turn anyway, can attack right away. So the phasing spells are really good. The protection's good. Virtuoso's insane. Storm Chaser Yake is a good way to find our pieces. The one card in the deck that I'm kind of meh on is actually Delver's Secrets. Delver feels like the worst card in our deck. It doesn't interact especially well with all of our spells. I guess it's fine, but it doesn't do anything special when we target it or anything. Its main purpose is mostly to eat a removal spell or 2. I think if you are not on a budget and you can play as many rares and mythics as you want, there's probably a better option than Delver. I actually think Delver is bad in this deck, although there's not another Virtuoso or Storm Chaser Drake. I wish we had one more heroic creature. The other card that was really impressive in the right scenarios was Mavinda. Mavinda in the early game is really bad. It doesn't do anything. You don't even want to play it. But in the late game, once we get to like 4 mana, 5 mana, Mavinda does this weird feather impression almost, where it comes down and it allows us to just start reusing all of our phase out spells and protection spells from the graveyard, and it becomes really, really difficult for our opponent to interact with our board because we can cast a spell during our turn and a spell during our opponent's turn, so we just keep flashing back all of our stuff, and that allows us to close out the game really, really quickly. So as far as budget decks go, I actually really like this deck. I'm still meh on Delver, but I think in the budget build it's fine. In a non-budget build, I don't know what the best option for replacement is. It's got to be a creature. I considered for a minute just dropping Delver for more spells, but then you run into the Boggles problem where you have all these spells that need a creature to target in your hand, but not having a creature to actually cast them on. So I do think it needs to be a creature. One dark horse candidate, I gotta say, after playing against it from opponent's deck, is actually Archon of Emeria. Archon of Emeria, people keep bringing it in against us as a hate card, but hilariously, it's actually super beneficial for us because it makes it really easy to protect our stuff. Each player can only cast 1 spell each turn, so our opponent goes to cast a removal spell, we can cast a protection spell, and we don't have to worry about our opponent countering or casting another removal spell. So I'm almost tempted to just like cut Delver and run a bunch of Archon of Emerias because it felt so insane for our deck when our opponents were playing it. But I like this deck a lot. If you like slinging spells and growing big Voltron threats and just doing tricky phase out things, we're experiencing this mechanic, this phasing out mechanic that hasn't really been a part of the game for 30 years, and this deck is really built around it and embracing its power. So if you like that stuff, seems like a pretty legit option for our new standard format, and I think this deck hopefully mostly survives rotation. The phase out spells are still going to be around. Delver, for better or worse, is still around. Virtuoso is still around. If we can get another heroic spell or 2, this deck could be a really legit option once we get rotation this fall as well. So a good budget deck now, a good budget deck in the future. All around, the deck seems like a win. So anyway, that is blue-white phasing tribal heroic. That's been our budget magic for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I will talk to you soon.